back. But that's still only 4 zealots we can see on the screen, so they are still going to be no match versus that minefield and tank harass that the Terran have planned. They are still pumping out vultures and tanks, so it's not above them to keep using the same strategy if it works. The Valkyrie is just kind of sitting there. There's not going to be any air defense from the Protoss because he did take out all of those Stargates. Everything on the Protoss side is bad. And if you're ever in this situation, the smartest thing you can do, especially because if we are looking at the Protoss resourcing correctly, last time we saw they have thousands upon thousands of resources. Pretty stupid to be turtling yourself in when you don't need to. You should have been popping out maybe shuttles. As we can see, those Psystorms are taking out the cruisers. I'm totally missing some commentary moments by talking about dumb strategies. But those battle cruisers are basically just cannon fodder. He moved them in, not very good micro by the Terran, kind of like a little bit of a slip-up. But he is creating 2 more battle cruisers. A third one was already created in response. He Psystormed his own buildings, and that can be very dangerous when you're the Protoss. Again, he does have a Robo-Bay, a robotics facility up, so I don't know why he's not getting shuttles and trying to expand across the map, because if the Terran only know your one location and they're hellbent on getting that one destroyed, you could have a lot of fun. And look at that, a very, very good micro by the Terran, saving that one tank, because that one tank is worth 150 mineral as well as 100 gas. We see an Archon get summoned in. We don't know how effective that Archon is going to be, and he doesn't seem to see those shuttles, so missing a shuttle harass there. 3 battlecruisers just sitting there with 2 along the way. We see the Terran is having a little bit of trouble with gas, but he is probably going to make up for it because he does have his upper middle. Excuse me. He does have his upper middle with those gas refineries, as well as the upper left with that gas refinery. So he is getting that gas at a sufficient level. Again, laying down more mines. It has been a Protoss casualty, no man's land with those mines, so it can be a pretty good strategy. But as we can see, the Protoss still have tons of resources, 4,751 minerals. He could just be pumping out those shuttles and trying to get some probes through, because as far as he knows, the Terran Valkyries are still in the lower middle right, and they're not very useful. And as far as the Terran knows with those comsats, he doesn't have any reasons to use those Valkyries. And we see a second science facility go down. Don't really know. Probably going for nukes. But those Archons, look at those Archons. They just fell to the combined power of the tanks and the Vultures. Again, Vultures going in, harassing that pylon, putting down more mines, and that High Templar sees it, and he moves just away just in time. But more mines laid down by the Vultures, so he is going to continue to harass. He doesn't have as many tanks out, which is kind of surprising, because he should have a ton of tanks, as well as maybe some turrets to detect some hidden units. We hear some Psystorms go off in the background. Probably some lost. Yep, Valkyries are starting to go down, and those High Templars are becoming a little bit of a hassle. And see, if you expand it to the upper right like the Protoss did, he should have been throwing down a lot of Nexuses, because or Nexi, I don't really know how you say that, but he should have been throwing down some bases in the middle upper left and the lower middle right, because those are just right there next to those expansions. So, I hate to say it, I don't want to be a bad sport, but it's kind of like I told you so. The Terran are making this a very hard game for the Protoss, because they're not hurting for resources at all, while the Protoss have none coming in. They are pretty much waiting it out on what resources they have, and any other pro gamer in this situation would have already GG'd themselves out of the game. But Ancient One is pretty determined to stick this one out, but and look at that, those tanks. Some of the Templars were just not fast enough to get out of the way of those tanks. So he is harassing with those tanks pretty much all the time this game. Definitely not an old strategy if it works, you know. But he is microing them very well. As we can see, some hallucinations coming out to harass the tanks. But I mean, a very good strategy, because it does make the tanks kind of attack themselves and annihilate themselves, because there's no damage coming from hallucinations. But again, that is not going to win him the game. In fact, it may even lose him the game. because if you're relying on hallucinations, it means you have no income coming in, you don't have any units to support you, and basically in the end you are hurting for any kind of power. So we see those vultures laying down the last of their mines. More hallucinated zealots are coming in. They are taking out the tanks only because the tanks are focus firing on themselves. But those mines did take out the zealots, but did take out that tank. So bad kind of microwing on Szar's part. But again, he doesn't really need to. He's not hurting for any resources whatsoever. In fact, he's got so much, he might as well throw it all to charity. Again, he warps in 3 more battle cruisers, so as if his 8 weren't enough right now as his replacements to his other 12. Again, most of the Protoss buildings are unpowered, and he has hit his population limit, the Protoss. So, again, the Terran did hit his maximum population. So, really, it is a one-sided game, and hallucinations, no matter how many, are not going to win you the game, Ancient. Just quit while you still have your gamer pride. But those mines do take out a tank as well as those hallucinations, and Szar, in the confusion of the whole battle, not only EMPs a few Dark Templars, but sends in his battle cruisers. The High Templars do not respond right away. In fact, just now do they get their Psystorms off. They destroy 1 battle cruiser, but the EMP shockwaves just take out all of the Dark Templars' energy. They have no more Psystorms left on their person, so the battle cruisers are free to do whatever they wish this entire game. And no matter how many High Templars he warps in, they are going to come to the realization that they are going to die immediately once they come out of that gate. And look at that, Szar's so confident, he's not even moving in his vultures to help out. Protoss lose pretty evenly, even sending out those Archons, and most of his buildings are unpowered, and there goes his last pylon. With that pylon gone, I do believe, yep, there goes the gateway, and there's the GG from Ancient One. Finally, he couldn't handle losing anymore. So there we have it. In the end, the score is a whopping 25 to... Oh, how do I say this? I can't even get this out right. 252,230 for Magistrate Szar and 187,480 for the Ancient One. And I know scores don't mean anything to anybody, but they do to me. It makes me feel kind of happy when I have a higher score than somebody else. That means I get to go kill babies, go help the homeless out by building some shelters and then lighting them on fire or something. I don't even know. I'm just babbling now. But there was the epic battle, or semi-epic battle, until about midway into the game.